In this video, we're going to be looking at approximating the square roots of numbers. Basically, what we're doing is really approximating with irrational numbers. That's kind of the fancy way of thinking about this. So our first question asks, on a number line, between which two consecutive whole numbers would the square root of 70 be located? All right, so we're trying to find where on a number line the square root of 70 would be. So perhaps the easiest thing to do would, let's kind of make a little bit of a dual number line. All right, and what I'm going to do here is, let's say if I take 6 squared, 7 squared, 8 squared, 9 squared, and I'm going to stop there. And on the top part of my number line, I'm going to put what the products would be. Let's see what they would be. So 6 squared, of course, is 36, and 7 squared is 49, 8 squared is 64, and 9 squared is 81. All right, so I'm trying to find where the square root of 70 would be. And clearly, the square root of 70 would have to be somewhere between 8 and 9. Why? Because 8 squared is 64, and 9 squared is 81. In other words, if you're having difficulty with this, the square root of 64 is 8, and the square root of 81, is 9. Therefore, the square root of 70, where is it? It is going to be between 8 and 9. That's where you'd find the square root of 70. And I think we can see that our answer would certainly be a lot closer to 8 than to 9. 70 is closer to 64 than it is to 81. All right, in our second question, we're asked, or told, that the square root of an integer, n is a variable, is between 9 and 10. What are all the possible values for n? And you're asked to explain. All right, let's look at the question again. So we're looking for the square root of some number. And we know that that square root is between 9 and 10. Okay, well, let's think about this. We know that the number that we're looking for, n, is between 9 squared, because we're looking for the square root of a number. It's going to be, n is going to be here, and 10 is going to be there. In other words, n is between 9 and 10. All right, so what numbers could n be? If n is between 9 squared and 10 squared, then we know that n is between 81, which is 9 squared, and 10 squared, which is 100. And what is n going to be? Well, we know that n is going to have to be greater than 81 and less than 100. So let's go back and read that question again. What it asks is the square root of an integer n is between 9 and 10. In other words, the square root of this is between 9 and 10. We then figured out that 9 squared was 81, 10 squared was 100, and n could be any number greater than 81, first one being 82, and less than 100, last one being 99. So that's your answer, any number from 82 through 99. And lastly here, we're asked, what is the square root of 50 to the nearest 10th? And in my notes, I showed you how to do this manually, but here I'm just going to do it on a calculator, because in real life, that's what one would be doing. So here we have, our question, which is what is what is the square root of 50 to the nearest 10th? And I am just going to put 50 into my calculator, going to hit the radical symbol, and I can see that what I get is 7.07, and obviously this is an irrational number, and I'm going to round it to the nearest 10th. Looking at the 100th place, that's a 7. Therefore, I'm going to round the 10th place, which is a 0. I'm going to round up, so that will mean it is 7.1. And so I can say that the square root of 50, approximately to the nearest 10th, is 7.1.